Hey everyone, welcome back to the Meta-Analysis Academy channel. In this video, we're going to discuss key differences between systematic reviews and meta-analysis. If you're new to this channel, my name is Rhanderson Cardozo. I am a cardiologist in Boston in the United States. And in this channel, we talk about systematic reviews, meta-analysis, research, career, publications, especially how publications with meta-analysis can boost your career, can help you achieve your goals. So if you're interested in this type of content, hit the subscribe button and make sure to stay tuned in to future videos as well. Alright, so let's discuss what are the differences between systematic reviews and meta-analysis. First, let's start with systematic review. What is this? What makes a review systematic? So let's use the Cochrane definition for systematic review. Cochrane says that a systematic review is the process to identify, appraise, and synthesize all the empirical evidence that meets pre-specified criteria to answer a specific, well-defined research question. So there's important things to unpack in all these elements. The first thing is that a systematic review is pre-specified and follows specific methods. This is really key for you to understand what a systematic review is. In doing a systematic review, we define a very specific question that has a population, an intervention, maybe a control group, and the specific outcomes that we're interested in. So we pre-specify all these components and then we systematically search. We apply systematic methods to identify all the studies that fit these inclusion or eligibility criteria. And there are methodic ways of going about this. There are specific ways on how you're going to search, how you're going to triage studies, include them in your systematic review. So that's essentially what a systematic review is. It's an explicit method to identify all studies that fit a pre-specified research question. And what is a meta-analysis then, and how does it contrast to a systematic review? Well, imagine you do a systematic review and you find maybe 20 papers, 15 papers, 30 papers that fit a specific pre-specified question. How do you make sense of all of this data? That's where a meta-analysis comes in. A meta-analysis is a statistical technique. It's math. It's the quantitative synthesis of all these studies that you identify in doing a systematic review. So a meta-analysis is a powerful tool, a powerful statistical tool that is combined with a systematic review. The systematic review is the process to find the studies. The meta-analysis is the process to quantitatively analyze them as a whole, to provide a mathematical synthesis of all those studies. So essentially, a meta-analysis takes all this data and analyzes it collectively. You can think of it as a puzzle. A systematic review would be the process of identifying and organizing all the pieces of the puzzle. A meta-analysis is the process of putting it together to have a unified conclusion of all of those studies. And now that you understand this, you can see that potentially you could even do a meta-analysis without doing a systematic review. You could just put the results of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 studies together without doing a systematic review. You could analyze them together combined, but not go through the rigorous systematic process of identifying all the studies on a given topic. That could be done, but it's not, because it would introduce bias. If I selectively choose the studies that I want to put in a meta-analysis, I could pick the ones that share my opinion on the topic and ignore others. But when you do a systematic review, you pre-specify your eligibility criteria and you include all the studies that fit those criteria, such that you minimize bias when doing your meta-analysis, because now you're going to look at all the studies that fit a certain question and not just a selective group of studies that you pick and choose among multiple others. Now that you understand this, you can also figure out that there are important differences when reporting the results of a systematic review alone and a systematic review with meta-analysis. If you are going to report just a systematic review, this will be a qualitative report of the results. It will be a narrative report. You will say, I found 10 studies, one of them found this, the other one found that, and then this other one in contrast showed a different finding. So you're going to qualitatively report the results of different studies in a narrative review. A meta-analysis, when you add that to a systematic review, again, you look at all the studies together, you combine their statistical results mathematically, so you have a forest plot. You have a quantitative synthesis of these studies together. So a forest plot is a quantitative report of a meta-analysis, as opposed to a systematic review, which is more of a narrative, a qualitative report. In future videos, you will see a full explanation of what is a forest plot and how to understand it, how to take the data from it. But in short, these forest plots display the results of each individual study, and then at the bottom, the results of the meta-analysis, the results of the quantitative analysis of all the studies together. And to finalize this video, you may be asking, why would anyone ever do just a systematic review? If meta-analysis is so much better, if it analyzes the studies collectively together, gives a unified report of all the study results, why not always do it? Because you can't always combine the studies. And the studies may have important methodological differences. They may be analyzing different outcomes measured in different ways, slightly different populations. So you may not be able to combine the studies mathematically to generate a meta-analysis. That's the main reason why anyone would do just a systematic review and not a meta-analysis. The other reason being, of course, if they don't know how to do a meta-analysis, and of course you can learn that in the Meta-Analysis Academy with our team. So using our puzzle analogy, let's say that you did a systematic review and you found all the pieces of this puzzle, but if you can't connect them, if you can't put them together, you can't finalize the puzzle. You can't really do the meta-analysis. The studies have to be similar enough to each other for you to do a meta-analysis after a systematic review. So in conclusion, a systematic review is the process, is the method to systematically identify all studies that fit a pre-specified research question and with that minimize bias. A meta-analysis is when you get all these studies together and you combine them into one result. So if you want to learn how to do both a systematic review and a meta-analysis, I want to invite you to join the waitlist of the Meta-Analysis Academy. In our program, you will learn all the tools to do everything from developing your idea, doing all the methods, searching the literature, triaging the studies, running the statistics for meta-analysis, and then of course writing your manuscript. So if you want to learn all of this, join us in the next edition of the Meta-Analysis Academy. I'll see you there.